Last video, we talked about mean, median, and mode, which are measures of things in the middle of our data set. Let's know what's going on in the center of it. Now we're going to look at what's called standard deviation, and this is going to measure how far away from the middle a certain value is. Or maybe I'll just highlight the standard deviation here. Now there are a couple things with the letters, so I'm going to point those out. N stands for our number of items. So I talked about finding the average, our class average for a test. I said there were 30 students, so N would be 30. X would be each of your test scores. X with this little bar on the top, that's going to be the mean, just like we did before. Now this formula is a little crazy scary, so I'm going to walk through each step. It's really going to be you practicing typing in your calculator. So make sure you have the calculator with you, not the one on your phone, but a scientific calculator so that we can do these steps. The first thing we need to do is find the mean, just like we did in our previous video. So I'm going to add 2 plus 8 plus 3 plus 2 plus 6 plus 11 plus 31 plus 9. That gives me 72. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 items. So that's my N. I'm going to go ahead and say that's N. 8 is N. So 72 over 8 gives me 9. Exactly 9. I didn't round. That just gives me the exact answer. And I'm going to use the mean. So in my formula, that's the X with the bar on top. So now I'm going to find the standard deviation. This is a square root, so it's going to have a nasty answer. So notice I'm going to round to 4 decimal places. You need to really be careful. The square root is on top of everything. It's a huge square root. So make sure and kind of draw yourself a big, huge square root to put everything underneath before you get started. So we know N, and we know the X, the mean right there. So we need to know what X squared is. And this little summation symbol means to add them up. So this little guy right here means to add. So you can see my work down below is what I did is I took each one of our numbers and squared it. So 2 squared plus 8 squared, that goes with 3 squared plus 2 squared plus 6 squared plus 11 squared plus 31 squared plus 9 squared. Typed all that in my calculator and that gave me 1,280. So now in my formula I have every piece of data I need. The sum of X squared, that's what I just did, was 1280. So I'm going to stick that right there. N is 8, so I'm going to stick it right there, and the mean was 9. So I'm going to type in my calculator. I just typed this numerator in, just this part right here. So I typed in 1,280 minus 8 parentheses 9 squared, and that gave me 632. In the denominator is N minus 1. Remember, N is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. Now that this is much more reduced, I typed this entire thing in exactly as how I see it. The square root of 632 divided by 7. Make sure that 7 is in the square root. Don't close out your square root parentheses. It's the square root of 632 over 7. And just kind of to be safe, you might want to put that in parentheses. Make sure the 7 is part of those parentheses. And then my directions, if you remember, said to round to 4 decimal places. So I rounded that to 4 decimal places. Now we have another example on the next page. So go ahead and pause the video and give that one a try. When you think you have the answer, you can either check and just make sure you have the answer. If you didn't get that, then I'll walk you through it. So for this guy, we want to talk about the sale of basketball shoes. So there's more information given, but I just care about this money right here, the shoe sales. And do note, it's been a while since we had one of these, but it's in millions of dollars. So we're going to use the units there. The mean, I'm going to add up all these dollar amounts and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So N is 7. And it told me to round to 4 decimal places. And I got this as my mean. Remember to make sure and use your units for this. So million of dollars there. There's my dollars and there's my million. I'm ready for my standard deviation. I've got to figure out what the sum of X squared is. So each one of these values, 878 squared plus 964 squared plus 892 squared plus 718 squared, etc. I would tell you I might type this in my calculator twice just to make sure I got the same answer, because that is a lot of numbers squared. But this is what I got for the summation of x squared. So I'm going to plug in my numbers. I know n, I know the mean, I know the summation. So I plugged in the summation, I plugged in n, and I plugged in the mean, and then that n again. I'm going to type in just my numerator. It's going to give me that answer. Then I'm going to type in, or do in my head, the denominator to get 6. And then I'm going to type in this entire square root. To be on the safe side, make sure to put in parentheses. And then I'm told the decimal place is a little bit different on this one. It said to round to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. I get 102.20. Make sure to use those units again. That's in millions of dollars, because this one was in the context of basketball shoe sales. So since it has like a word problem, real world data, we want to make sure and use our units.